It's really easy to look at a relationship, maybe your own relationship or maybe someone else's, and start diagnosing what's wrong with it. He's too passive. She has to make every single decision. Or she's too demanding. He's always trying so hard just to keep her happy. Most of us are pretty quick to name the flaws we see in a relationship, and then decide what the dynamic must be or should be, and then explain why it's probably not going to work. And what this really reveals about us is what we believe a relationship should look like. But there's something all of us are missing when we start analyzing problems and issues in a relationship almost all the time when we do this. And it's so simple that it makes sense that we kind of overlook this. And it's this: that life is a process of becoming. Not arriving, not stabilizing into some perfected version of ourselves. Becoming. Which means what we call problems are actually evidence that two people are not done growing yet. He's not just a passive human being, he's probably ready to learn how to speak into his desire. She's not just a controlling person. She might just be ready to learn how to trust. Right? Almost nothing about us is permanent. But often the things that we think of as personality are just unfinished skills. And when we forget that, we freeze each other in place. We start relating to who someone has been instead of who they're becoming. And we do this in relationships all the time. But here's the deeper truth. If there is love present, it means that growth is knocking at the door. Because love presses on the parts of us that are underdeveloped, inherently. It exposes where we're still asleep, and love demands that we wake up. And that perspective transforms the question of how do we fix this problem into what is this moment asking me to grow into? Because when you understand that embracing the process of becoming will change your relationships, you stop seeing defects and you start seeing invitations. The invitation to speak up when you're hurting or to soften when she needs it. The invitation to stop sleepwalking through life and pretending that sleepwalking is good enough for anyone, especially yourself. Because it's so much easier, and most of us would rather just diagnose what's happening than actually accept the invitation to develop, to change, to grow. So how do we recognize when we're doing this? How do we adopt a perspective that allows for change to unfold? And remember that none of us are finished. And that's what we're talking about today. Stay with me. This is Reclaiming the Gentleman. I'm Dave Lashansky. So there's a theme I hear from a lot of men these days about what makes a woman a good partner. And everyone is obviously entitled to their own opinions and beliefs and certainly desires for what they want in a partner. But the theme I keep hearing come up more and more is defining how worthy a woman is as a partner by what she offers you, by what she brings to the table. I hear more men asking, what's her contribution? What is she contributing to the relationship dynamic and the home we ultimately want to create together? And what I'm about to say might stir up some of you. It might be triggering to hear this, but if you're someone who looks at people's relationships or your own relationship and sees problems, this might be exactly the thing that will set you free. You ready? She doesn't have to bring anything to the table. Let that sink in. Now, that's maybe a little overstated, but honestly, if you're a man entering into an intimate relationship with a woman and waiting for someone who's fine splitting things 50-50, waiting for the woman who wants to do half the chores or drive half the time, or maybe you think there should be an even split, but not of the same things, right? Maybe you believe you should work and bring home the proverbial bacon while she makes the home and takes care of the household chores. I promise you, if this is you, you are entering into a relationship that will have you spinning and swirling and stuck on your problems and your issues. Think about it. Is this you? When you think about your relationship, are you holding out for a 50-50 split in some way? Maybe it's unconscious. But maybe you're measuring your energy output against hers. Are you waiting for the woman who will finally see the fairness and practicality of what you want in your ideal relationship? The fairness and practicality of splitting things 50-50. If so, just try something new with me for a second. Just try imagining something else. Because I mostly mean it when I say she doesn't have to bring anything to the table. Anything tangible, that is. Anything objectively measurable. Because the harmony in a relationship is really not about splitting output or chores or bills. It's not about evening the playing field. The harmony a relationship needs to thrive is built on devotion. And when we are fixated on the even split, on the ledger, on the output, most of us completely miss out on devotion. Because a relationship built on equal output struggles against this problem of, are we even? Do I owe her? Does she owe me? But a relationship built on devotion asks a completely different set of questions. How do we move toward each other? What is presence and love calling forth from me? Right? One checks the ledger and the other pursues presence. So, what are these intangible things that a woman would bring that would justify what I said earlier, that she doesn't need to bring anything to the table? Well, one big one is this. She calls you higher. She shows you what you're made of. She ignites that fire in your heart to pursue a life that fulfills you and excites you and gives you energy to keep going and growing. She inspires you to be your best. You see how that changes things? Like how measuring up her income and how many dishes she does doesn't really compare to that. And can you see how when we miss this, when we focus on the other output, we close off to the magic that she's capable of, which is really the magic love is capable of in our lives. Because the problems you perceive in your relationship may require you to shift your perspective. The problems you're struggling against might change if you recognized how opening your heart to her devotion, offering yourself in devotion to her, maybe was the solution all along. Now, I'm going to caveat this because obviously not all relationships are perfect and not all women are capable of wielding this kind of power. But the thing to recognize is this: devotion is not martyrdom. It's not tolerating chronic disrespect. It's not staying in something that is fundamentally misaligned with you stepping into your power and your softness, or both. Right? Devotion only works when two people are committed to becoming. Because if one person has no intention of growing, devotion will deplete you. It will burn up, it will dry out, and it will die. But when two people are devoted, not to splitting output and keeping the ledger even, but devoted to growing, to moving closer and closer to each other, something totally different happens. The ledger disappears. You stop asking questions like, was that fair? Is this fair? Am I doing too much? Is she not doing enough? And you start asking, what is love asking of me right now? And here's the paradox that most people miss. When you stop keeping score, you actually inspire growth. When you stop measuring her output and start deepening your presence, she feels it and she responds. You receive more. When you stop demanding reciprocity, you receive what you've been waiting for. When you learn to cultivate your presence, you gain the capacity to lead her through whatever emotions might have triggered or sunk you before. When you stop demanding reciprocity and focus instead on devotion and presence, the entire dynamic shifts. Not because you are manipulating it, but because you changed, because you opened yourself to her. You earn her devotion by trusting her, by being vulnerable, not by brute force or manipulation or overpowering or fixing the problem. Remember how this all started. The first and most important key is to shift your perspective. To shift your perspective by remembering that life is a process of becoming. This is true for all of us, right? If you freeze her in the story of who she's been, relating to her as this fixed personality with fixed flaws and reactions to things, you're never going to see who she's trying to become. And she won't see who you're trying to become either, right? Devotion says, I see who you are becoming and I will guide you there. I will hold you on your way to becoming. Try measuring that. It's not 50-50. And it's not transactional. It's alive, right? It's the difference between a machine that has to be calibrated constantly and oiled and greased to stay balanced versus an ecosystem that nourishes itself and thrives on the storms and the sunlight and the dark of night too. Now here's the real question. Are you relating from a ledger or from devotion? Are you leading with your heart and trust in her desire to make you a better man? Or are you waiting for her to prove her value? Because it's quite possible that the problems you're fighting in your relationship are not what you've been making them out to be. And they might be the best invitation that you'll ever get to start becoming. You want to call her back when you're losing her. You want your presence to be the anchor she believes in. You want your gaze and your touch to call her back to herself. This is the way to do that. The invitation is waiting for you, if you're ready for it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Reclaiming the Gentleman. Please get in touch at daveleshansky.com and sign up for our upcoming free events and offerings in preparation for the next offering of Reclaiming the Gentleman, the 21-day transformational journey. If you are looking for support in your life or your relationship, you can get in touch with me on Instagram at Dave_Leshansky or on daveleshansky.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you're getting something from this podcast, please